Okay.
Call me in order. Start on the pledge. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any modifications to the agenda?
Yeah, I'd like to add, under business, I'd like to add, the security requirements for the municipal building. Kind of go over what, Jack, Keith, and myself did this week. Make sure you guys are all on board and approve it.
Nope. Seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Velma, seconded by Dan. All those in favor to approve the agenda? Hey, Jack, you got anything for us?
Not a thing.
Anybody else? No?
Yeah. So, I guess, I'm kinda asking the board if, what their thoughts are, but I know a while back we talked about documents for the general public to see online, planning board documents and selectmen's documents, and I haven't got a call lately, but I noticed that the planning board is still not putting their documents, and, is that something that, is it just me and a few people that call me that want it, or is that something that, we as a board should tell the planner to start putting this stuff on? So I guess I'm just asking that question, I don't know if we're gonna talk about it now, or set it up as a next agenda item, but.
I'm not understanding why it's not being done. I haven't looked to see. I've had 2 conversations with the planner to ensure that information gets out there. He was concerned about getting these large pieces of documents, and what I was trying to say to him was, put your agenda on, I'm sure you put together an executive summary, put your executive summary on there with your minutes, be done. And that should be enough, so,
When you're talking about ordinance changes, he has those all in Word doc, or whatever, cause he gives them to all the members.
correct.
Just attach that, that's real easy to do.
Yeah. I don't understand why. You asked me to do it, and it was very simple. I just take your packet, and I put it online, and everybody gets what we have, unless it's confidential, obviously.
Yeah.
Other than that, it goes on.
And if an applicant brings paper, then obviously don't expect him to go and scan all that stuff. But he should start requesting that stuff digitally, and then he can just attach the files. But I think the biggest piece really is when they're doing ordinance, because people like to see what's going on. People like to see what it was before, what the changes are, so that if they wanna come to the meeting, they can come prepared and already ask questions and not try to figure it out during the meeting. And to me, that's a real easy thing to do, because he already provides it to the members. But that's just my put, and I'll drop it from here, I won't go any further, I don't wanna be the only one asking for it, and I don't know if the rest of the board wants it, but that's it for me, I'm done.
You got something, Jack?
I do. I am appreciative of the more complete information that you're providing now. There were, 20 pages or so for tonight's meeting, and I may be the only person in town that's read it. But I found it very useful. And similarly, the planning board put out a document regarding their site prep walk on February 1st. That was out today too. And it was useful. I didn't know where that property was, but I'm curious, so I go on the tax map and find it and understand the acreage that's being talked about. So that level of information, in my view, is useful. And I would certainly like to see the planning board do a little more.
So, you said that they had because when I looked earlier today, I didn't see anything about the sidewalk, but they must have just.
Well, it was just an hour ago.
Okay, so what does he have there, is it just more than just the agenda?
No, this was just an announcement of the site
Oh,
walk
okay.
alone on February 1st.
Sidewalk for Irving Road,
subdivision. Click here to see the site walk agenda for Irving Road subdivision. And that's what they have. Develop a 5 or 6 lot cluster subdivision, lot located at 23 Irving Road.
That, that's, most people would be interested in.
Yeah.
I would expect a few are, certainly a butters.
So, but what happens when some of our neighboring towns is they actually, the package that the applicant brings, those are actually attached. And somebody can go in there and bring it up, albeit, you know, they probably have to zoom because sometimes it's hard to see those,
Yeah.
but, you know, they can actually look at it and see where the site is, and they can, if they want to, I'm not saying that the planning board's got a bunch of people to show up, but if they want to, the information is already there. I've said much more than what I wanted to say, so I'm over.
And that's all they have is just, I mean, you'd have to look it up, I mean, you know where the Irving Road is, you'd have to look up the, tax map and all of that to get it.
Got it noted?
Yeah, I'm a little upset that more information isn't provided, but I'll address that issue.
Any, other non-agenda items? Minutes, January 13th.
On the business for the, land use citation, it didn't mention in there that, it says it was approved, but it doesn't say that they're paying the legal fees. Approve the issuance of a land use citation for 725 Limerick Road as a result of a non-compliance of the lot in terms, so on and so forth. See, it just says, see the citation.
That's right, I didn't attach it.
Oh, okay.
I will attach it on the official document.
I just know the gentleman's name was Ryan Chessman, not
Chestman,
Chessman, yeah.
sorry.
And I think the reference to, legal fees and costs are in the consent judgment itself rather than the citation, so.
Okay,
Ryan's last name, I believe, is spelled Chessman.
Right.
H-E-S-S.
M-A-N, Chessman.
Okay. I'll reference the, consent order as well
Yeah.
and attach it.
Make a motion we approve as amended?
Second.
Motion by Dan, seconded by Tom. All those in favor? You do not have any, committee board reports? Mr. Manning.
Yeah, obviously, as I related in my, building status executive summary, they're wrapping up, their work on site. They'll be removing their, construction trailer and their 53-foot construction trailer and their porta potty that's there now, for the winter. The last time I spoke to them, they were looking at the end of March, the 1st of April, to be back on site. As you see by Dan's photographs, Brex is already back there putting in the septic system. As I understand, they'll be there another couple weeks before they wrap up their work on site and complete theirs as well. The solar trackers have been ordered. Neoto, I put him in contact with Luke at Willette to ensure that they're located on site when they're not in the way. And so he'll begin his process with the trackers here, as I would assume relatively soon. We'll get working on that. We're gonna, as a note to that, Ed Pierce from the Freelance Writer is going to be meeting with Jack and I and Naoto on Thursday to go over the solar package. He really wants to do an article on that, and so, we felt it was important to have the auditor there to answer all those questions about the system and so on and so forth. So that will be coming out, shortly. In addition, I think I put this in your attachment, this will be the sign that will be placed on the roulette trailer that will be there. It'll say Town of Arundel, Maine, municipal building, and then it will have the, principals who have assisted us in the project. There it's either gonna be a 4x6 or 4x8 sign that they'll place on the trailer. So I would expect that probably before they leave the site, I would expect the sign to be on the trailer. So, at least people won't be asking us where the municipal building's being constructed. At least we hope not.
Nice.
The next thing is that, I don't know if you recall, I think it was back in August, we applied to the VW, MDOT's VW Settlement Fund Grant Program. We applied for 2 plow trucks, 6-wheel dump trucks / plow trucks to replace a 1996 Ford and a 1998 Ford. We were successful in getting one of those grants, and that grant is for $140,000. And we had estimated the truck to be around $175,000 range. So our contribution to that, once we go, will be $35,000. It looks like we'll be in good shape to be placing that money into the fund through this budget process, because the next steps that they have are after notification, we'll have the ability in May to order trucks. Once permission is granted by the Maine DOT on approved vendor list. Now, we're trying to gather what the approved vendor list is. It's ironic that this information comes out and Roger's phone has been ringing off the hook from truck companies looking to bring a truck down to look at and so on and so forth. So this week, I think Portland North, the international deal, will be bringing something down for us to look at, but we can't order anything at this point until all the other things are in play. So what's this mean to us? It's substantial savings to the town, something that we were hoping that we would get both. Obviously, it would really help the fleet, but one certainly helps. So we're very appreciative of that.
Keep
That
looking at
diesel?
that.
It will be a diesel, yep. I guess it's a tier 4 clean diesel that the federal government mandates that they have to be at now, these newer trucks. I guess in Europe it's tier 5, and that hasn't come to the United States yet, but tier 4 is here. And from what I understand, most of the diesels now being manufactured meet the tier 4 requirement in terms of clean diesel, so.
They have to.
And we have to.
We got a couple and they suck.
Yeah,
You don't like them, huh?
for $30,000.
That lift fluid, they call it.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, they regen.
They don't regen really, it's just that fluid helps to burn off the soot in the exhaust system, and the price keeps going up.
Absolutely.
And that stuff runs through almost like a leaky water hose.
Oh, really, it does?
We use a lot of it.
Okay.
We got 4 pieces that use that, and we're using probably 30, 40 gallons a week.
Yeah, that's substantial.
Yeah. They bring 10 cases up at a time, and it's $120 for 10 cases.
Yeah, so, all these new technology that's out there, oftentimes you wonder if it's doing any benefit, but that's where the money is, and so I guess we gotta go to it.
So that means that we can't sell that truck, the other one, right?
No, as I understand, the frame will have to be cut and there'll have to be a hole through the block of the truck. So, that's all I know. In terms, we're trying to get definition in terms of, the cart that's on it. It's got a stainless steel cart on it, and the, headgear, which is pretty universal in some of the other units that we still have in play. So we'd like to be able to retain those.
Yeah.
Particularly the cart, stainless steel cart, they don't give them away, and
No.
so they're expensive,
Yeah,
so we'd like to hold on to it if we can. So, those are questions that will get answered,
I don't see why you couldn't keep it. You can't sell it,
right,
but you can keep.
I think so. I think we can keep the cart, and as we've said, even if we have to, we'll put a cart on there. It just won't be that stainless steel cart.
Yeah.
You know, so we'll get something else on there if we have to, but it'll be a complete unit if that's what they desire for us to turn in. Good news, I was
Keith,
very,
am I reading this right, where we're responsible for 20% of that 140? That's-
yeah, no, we're gonna get 140, we're responsible for 20% of what we asked for,
Oh,
which
okay.
was 175,
Okay.
so we're gonna get the 140.
Okay.
And if you look, with the exception of one other municipality that came in 150, we're
Yeah.
one of the higher municipalities. I didn't give you the full data, if I gave you the 10 pages, you'd see that the city of Portland is getting a freight truck for $350,000 because they went from diesel to electric. So,
Really?
yeah. But, electric just wouldn't help us at all, not in this
We don't have the
application.
infrastructure
Just
for it.
don't, it just wouldn't be, so the clean diesel is the way to go for us. I provided to you, the letter that we just received from MDOT in reference to, it looks like their paving schedule for portions of 111, and once the payment is placed, there's no permit to open the segment for a period of 3 years. So I've provided this letter not only to Public Works, but also to the planning board, the planning department, to ensure that if there's any projects that may be on that 111 corridor that this will affect, that we should at least give notification or let folks know when they apply and so on and so forth, so they don't get short-sighted by it, but.
So why would they pave that section of 111 in Arundel when it was just paved this year?
No, they're not
They
paving that.
won't pave that, they'll skip that.
Oh, all right.
And anything that's good, if you read it real careful.
Yeah.
It tells you the areas that, by looking at the mileage, you can figure out the areas they're gonna skip,
Oh, all right.
and that new road intersection is one of them.
Oh, okay.
So, anyways, I thought that would be helpful to you folks. The other thing is that, the US Census Bureau sent us a boundary survey. I didn't put it in your packet. I have it here if you wanna look at it, but generally it's just, their ability to look at this and to get us to sign off on it, as being accurate. So what I did is I gave it to Wendy, who does is our 911, E911, our E911, address folks, and she works with that stuff all the time, and she took a look at it, said it's okay, so it meets the requirements and it seems to be the accurate boundary lines. I certainly don't wanna get into the court case that the town of York and Kittery are now getting into in reference to a boundary between them on Route 1 or going across Route 1. So, but in any event, I would seek your permission to go ahead and sign that on behalf of the town. Even though you haven't looked at it, I have it here. I can give it to you if you'd like to look at it, but it's pretty straightforward. Just like permission to sign it.
I'll make
You
that a
wanna look at
motion. Yeah,
No.
I'll second.
I'll make that a motion.
Motion by Velma,
Yep.
seconded by Dan.
Jeez, Dan.
All those in
Give me a
favor?
hard
Yeah,
time,
yeah,
aren't you? Huh?
I know.
And finally, the collaboration meeting has been rescheduled for Wednesday, February fifth at 6 o'clock at the Kennebunkport Police Station Conference Room again. And that's the collaboration, so that means Dan and Tom will attend on behalf of the town. I can't have three of you there, then it would be a meeting and I'd have to post it, so. That was the purpose of trying to keep two on each board attending, so there wouldn't actually be a meeting, and that there can be some frank and honest discussions among colleagues as to
Yep.
what we can and cannot do.
Put that in my calendar.
And that's it for manager's report.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to business, we have an application for special taste testing event license.
Yes, I have it here if you wanna look at it, but in a nutshell, the Maine Classic Car Museum at Motorland from 12 to 3 p.m. on February 1st will be having a, what they call a super, S-O-U-P-E-R, bowl. And Solar Rock Winery from Dayton, Maine will be providing some taste testing of winery wines that they offer. As I understand, the state of Maine obviously has the application. The company, Solar Rock, has come in and filled out all the application material. And it seems to meet all the criteria for us to, almost similar to a liquor license that you would do, but it's actually a special taste testing license event. And you have to follow the requirements that you would for a liquor license, so, I have it here if you'd like to take a look at it prior to signing. There's several pages to it, some of them don't apply, others do. They've been filled out, the clerk has looked at it as well. There's a map in here. From what I understand, it'll be inside the museum area. And so what I'm seeking, obviously today would be to seek approval to allow this taste testing event to occur on the 1st.
So move.
Motion by Donald, who's excited for that?
Oh, yeah, wine too.
I'll second.
Seconded by Diane. Any more discussion on this?
I didn't
We
have it
actually-
on my calendar, but I may put that on my calendar.
Do we actually have an ordinance, special taste testing event ordinance?
No, this is,
Like a
we
liquor
don't have an
license.
ordinance. This is just for a liquor,
That's it.
it's required by the state. And it
Uh-huh.
has to get your approval prior to moving forward.
How many people they expect there?
I think it was less, around 100 or so.
Okay. So it doesn't require the mass gathering.
Well, I don't think it would require the mass gathering anyways, because the mass gatherings indicates outdoor events, not indoor. And I looked at, and it looks like back in 2011 or 2012, you guys were looking at, there were some draft documents that were prepared to expand that not only from outdoor, but to all events, and I guess it just never went anywhere.
So,
Died.
Okay, so,
we'll keep it dead.
so that's why it doesn't apply here in my view.
So we're looking for a vote, all those in
Yes.
favor for this?
I'll recuse myself.
Yeah, you have some sort of relationship with him, right?
You do.
The wine.
When I send this down, you guys can sign it.
Tom, you're getting more gray areas than I have.
I know,
Yeah.
it's bad. Probably good for business, but it's bad.
While you're signing, I do have one item that I might mention, that the start of budget season in the school district. The budget book just was put out made available today.
Oh, it was, cause I got one this morning that said it wasn't available.
Yeah,
They
I
did
think
fix
going
it?
up about 4:30.
Okay,
Yeah.
so they did fix it, so they,
And, so it'll be in full swing next week with reviews, presentations by all the department heads. Get underway. 50 million and counting.
Compliance policy,
Yeah, post-issuance compliance policy, this was sort of developed as a result of our bond anticipation note. Our bond counsel reviewed that we don't have a policy in place at this point, and provided us a copy of a policy that she developed on our behalf. Essentially, as I understand it, it would provide the treasurer along with the bond counsel, the ability to meet any, IRS regulations that may come down as a result of our bond anticipation note. So, the policy, I guess, is pretty self-explanatory. I've read it a couple times. Provide certain steps in it, and we're gonna need a vote, an adoption by you folks in order to create it, so, I can go ahead and close on the bond, which is tomorrow, so.
This would be a policy that would be for any other future bonds that we write, this isn't just specific to,
Yeah, it
Current
says
bond, right?
it says issue tax exempt bonds from time to time to finance various capital project improvements.
oh, right at the freaking beginning. Must've been reading too fast.
now, one of your titles is the treasurer, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
So are we gonna be obligated to hire a financial advisor, a paying agent, a rebate specialist?
Only if I have to.
Okay. Let's hope we don't.
Because that would be, and I wouldn't be doing it unless you gave me approval to.
So I guess I make a motion that, we approve / adopt this policy.
I'll second it, we don't have much choice, I don't think.
I don't think so,
now
unfortunately.
what's the difference between this and the approval that we get at town meeting from the public telling us that we can,
I think this is just, what I would essentially say, crossing our i's and dotting our t's, just the paperwork that goes on. I think the authority that, was granted, gives us the ability to go ahead and do all the things that we have to do in terms of creating the bond anticipation note and having the ability to sign on behalf of the town. I think now we're just getting into the weeds to make sure that all the paperwork follows true to what we're borrowing, what we're asking for, and what our obligations are to it.
See, the problem with these, not the problem is, but what can become a problem, people buy these bonds are tax exempt, and if you don't follow the IRS regs and rules to a T, they can be non-tax exempt, and that's a real problem. All of a sudden, people's anticipation that they're gonna not pay taxes, and that's why bond counsel is critically important, is to be sure that once we issue these bonds, they qualify.
yeah, wouldn't a municipal bond fall under a tax exempt anyway?
It is, but if you don't follow the rules and regs, even if it's a municipal bond,
Yeah,
the IRS has said, well, we don't care who you are.
Under 2A, it does say ensure that a full and complete record of the principal documents of each, the issue has been completed by bond counsel and the financial advisor. So someone's gonna probably, the bond counsel might also be a financial advisor, I don't know, but it does say and.
Well, where it may be an audit, it may be, somebody has to audit.
Okay.
this as it moves through.
So you started it, right? Dan? You made a motion?
I
And then
did.
Tom second?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any more discussion on this? All those in favor?
And finally, for me, you have a document in front of you that provides some sort of process, in terms of writing off some ambulance billing. From as I understand, the industry standard, or anything after 6 years is pretty much, the inability to collect. And then it sort of ratchets us down as we move through. So, what we're doing with this request is attempting to gain your request to write off $57,685.55, from ambulance billing.
How are we doing as of late, in the last year or two? I know that we put in or
We have a new
the
company.
chief has got right, he's put in a new,
Comstar is working their way through the final pieces of what they owe us, but they'll be bumping up on that 6 year. After that, they sort of won't aggressively go after anything, especially with we still retain the FFR, and they have the same policy after 6 years. It's sort of, they'll continue to work on some of it as they move through, but anything after that is just hard to collect.
It's impossible. Statute of limitations is run.
Yeah.
but weren't they supposed to,
We send out, in this case, medical reimbursement gets the task of sending the bill out, whatever doesn't get paid. Or gets paid by the insurance company, whatever's remaining, they send a bill out to the property owner, whoever it may be, the individual that gets it. They send out, and they keep working it, for several months, before they'll turn anything over to FFR for further, nastiness, I guess, for putting it another way, for folks to maybe make a good effort to collect that funding for us. And after that,
but this was supposed to be the thought process was that we felt that we would be better at getting paid for these things. And I guess my question is, have we seen that?
yes, we've seen an increase in collections. And then the beauty of medical reimbursement is the fact they don't get paid unless they collect.
Right,
And where Comstar was getting paid a certain percentage based on the bill that was submitted. So they had no incentive where medical reimbursement does. So I think as the years progress, my hope is that this will continue to ratchet down and won't be outstanding as much as it has been in the past, but find out. And it's, the ambulance isn't going away, folks, it gets used pretty extensively.
Yeah, we did our most calls ever last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
651 or 15.
Oh, wow,
Requested
it's almost
600.
2 a day.
Wow.
So you need a motion for this?
Yes,
Write this off.
Yeah,
Looking for a motion.
so move.
Motion by Velma,
No second.
seconded by Phil. All those in favor?
I got a question.
Yeah.
So we're writing off 2016, 2017 stuff?
just 25%
Just
of
the
it,
percentages.
just $8,000 of it. Anticipation, we probably won't collect it.
Okay, all right, okay.
All those in favor?
Yeah.
Come on.
Talk to us about your security thing.
All right, so Jack, Keith, myself, got together this week. And Dom, if you wanna kind of move up over there, just wanna go over with the board, kind of what we talked about for security. Remember, this was a plan that came in, and this was the whole 9 yards, right?
This was a Cadillac.
That was a Cadillac. That's the original, let me just grab a copy of it.
You see one?
Melanie, you want to share something?
No, I can see it.
Okay. So that was a Cadillac, that was kind of everything, that he came in, so we kinda looked at this, and we said, you know, this is the legend right here, right, so these are panic buttons, so they had all kinds of panic buttons all over the place. So we decided, really no need for a panic button, you know, here, in some of these offices, so we, you know, meeting room, we took the panic button out of there. We
You
left
mean
the-
we can't panic?
You can panic, but there's no button to push. I'll bring you, that was easy.
Oh, yeah.
or something, but- So we figured, you know, there's really no need to have a panic button there, and also in these offices, so we took some of those out. These here, 360-degree fisheye cameras, you know, we figured, we didn't really feel that there was a need in the meeting room for those. Same thing, in here, what we talked about instead was basically just putting them in the hallway. So you've got a hallway here, that kinda looks out this way, changing, let's see, where was it that we added another one?
We were thinking
Here.
about even there with the,
Right.
with the city camera, yeah.
Right, maybe put a, this is into the meeting room, maybe put a 360-degree fisheye camera there. Let's see, on the outside, we kept the cameras outside, so this is a 360-degree. This basically will look all out over here. This one will look out over here. This is where the solar panels are gonna be, probably out over here in this area. So between this one, although this is a ways off, but you'll still be able to see that. We're looking this way, and then we've got one in the front, 180, it's gonna look at the front of the building, people coming in, and the Limerick Road. Kinda figured we'd keep those. The other question that we have is, all these motion sensors. For now, we kept them, but we're gonna bring, Peter from, Minuteman back in and kinda talk about these. These were all basically where the windows are, right? So our thought process at the time was, if they break in through this office, well, there's really nothing there. They're gonna come out here, so we thought that maybe we put the motion sensors again in the hallways. So we wanna talk to Peter, we're gonna bring Peter in and kinda go over and see really what his thoughts are on those motion sensors. We don't really think that there's that much of a need for a motion sensor everywhere.
So you don't think we need these in the meeting room I mean, the cameras, I'm assuming those cameras somewhere are gonna be attached to, a unit that's going to be able to view those cameras anytime.
Yeah, so every camera that you see
Yeah,
will be attached, there'll be a monitor in Keith's office.
Yes.
And he'll be able to, however he wants, you know, he'll be able to look at it and see. Off hours,
Yeah.
it'll just be recording, it'll all go
Yeah.
to the server, and it'll
Yeah.
be recording. And if something happens, we can go back and look at the information.
same thing I had in my
and grab it
office
from
at the
there.
bank, I could just turn around and I could see any of the cameras, or I could walk in on one.
Yep. So, that's kinda what we discussed, and I wanted to make sure that you know, the rest of the board is okay with it. Do you got any questions? Keith's got a couple of things he's gotta check with Willette first. Once he's done that, we'll schedule a meeting with Minuteman to kinda go over what we want and then get a new price. This was, you know, a little over $40,000. It's a lot of money, so.
The only thing I'm
What's the difference in the price between this and the Cadillac?
We don't know, we haven't gone that road yet, so,
And
what,
how much do we save by taking out the panic button?
we don't know, I don't know that.
We'll find out.
We will find out, when I got the price, from him, we didn't get the price on each specific little item, we just kinda put it together as a package, so.
Now, if we're sitting up here and the audience is here, to me, there should be cameras to see this way. I mean, everybody knows what we look like, but if we have a meeting and people are sitting here, if there's a problem in that meeting, I would think there would be a camera somewhere that could see what's going on there. I mean, I'm not saying we've ever had a problem in a meeting or that we ever would, but it would give you a picture of the audience.
So we do have, as part of the audio-visual piece of it, as
Yeah.
part of recording meetings,
Yeah.
we do have camera here and a camera
Oh,
there,
okay.
or whatever,
Oh,
I'm
all
not
right.
sure. But
So
the
those-
plan is to
yeah.
kinda have two cameras,
Yeah.
one to look here and one out at the
Yeah, the
audience to
recording
record the
meeting, so we do
meetings.
have we will
It's-
have
But
cameras
it's not
in
part of
there.
the security system.
Okay, all right.
I think we had some issues that, the things that I gotta look at is to find out what the hardware package is in reference to bid, to see if there's, the ability to maybe just have key entrance, key punch, you punch the door. The only one that we wanted to make sure that we could have, remote control of would be the one that goes to the outs, right there, that opens and closes those public bathrooms. So we wanna make sure that those lock at night and they're opened in the morning, so they're not open all the time, and somebody doesn't have to come by and actually lock them. So, that was the other issue we had, and we'll get that. And then finally, Dan brought up a good point, I think there are 4 or 5 street lights or parking lights that are in the parking lot. And he wanted to make sure they had motion sensors and they were dawn to dusk. So when if somebody drove in, at least they would actually come on if they close up, shut off at dusk. Somebody drives in, at least they'll come on, so.
Yeah, unless our plan is to just go dusk and dawn and leave them on all the time.
Yeah.
Right, I thought about that after, I mean,
Yeah.
some places do that, they come on and they leave them on all the time.
I looked at the construction set, and it looks like dawn to dusk is in there. But I don't know about the, photo eye to shut them off and on after, so I'll double check that.
Yeah, and that's a decision that we can make as a board on whether we just, I mean, they're gonna be LEDs, they're not that expensive, but it adds over time, right? Do we want these things to be on from dusk till dawn, or just come on with motion sensors?
Right.
Or maybe we determine a few of them or something stay on all the time, and we motion sensors, there's a lot of things that you can do today with that stuff, so.
I'm gonna be sensitive to the neighbors here too, I want the lights on
I do too.
all
Yeah.
the time,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah. And they create these today now that, obviously they shine down.
Right, right, but
They
still,
get
I mean,
good, but, yeah,
It's
it
still a
reflects,
light.
it reflects off the
Yeah.
building, and,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and if you get motion sensors and somebody's out there and they come on, the neighbors are gonna be looking out.
Yeah, right.
And
And
the
I think-
cameras will be able to, get a
See
better
better.
picture of
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
And these cameras are good, they definitely do very well at night, they pick up very well, these are the same ones that close to the same ones that we use at Pratt, and, they're pretty impressive what they can pick up, so. But, I just wanted to bring that up to you guys and see what your thoughts are, before we meet with Peter, and, kinda go from there. Do you want more panic buttons, do you want, what's,
I think Phil makes a good point, let's find out what the costs are per unit.
Yeah,
That
that's-
may,
what do these panic buttons do?
so, they will hit an alarm system that will contact
The security
a
company.
yeah,
Does it lock the building? Like if they hit the panic button and all the doors lock?
no, I don't think so. It would just be notification that
That's a problem.
there's a problem.
But you want panic buttons in certain places, but there are some places where you don't want them because they get hit all the time,
Yeah.
and, then you've got the security company calling you to check to see if you're ordering
Right.
pizza, and,
Right, I wanted to make sure that, when we did it, that General Assistance had one,
yeah,
that
Yeah.
Code Office had one,
yeah,
and that the Open Office had one.
yeah,
And then if we needed one in the conference room, we certainly can provide it.
so the button itself is probably not that expensive, but it's, from where the hub is, from the IT room is to run all the wires and run all of
Yeah.
that stuff to each of the,
Yeah.
so that's where the cost comes in.
in the office, you may not want one under the counter, but the desks back there, because if there's a problem at the counter, you don't want anybody to know that person at the counter is reaching under the counter to pull a panic button, but the people back there at the desk can do that.
Yeah. I think our initiative, here was because of the cost that
Yeah.
was proposed, we just thought it was a little too much, maybe too much of what we really needed.
Security's not gonna be cheap, you know, any of this stuff, it's, you know, we had said $5,000, something, whatever it is. I don't know what it's gonna
And
be.
security's pretty important these
Yeah.
days with everything going around in the country.
Yeah.
It don't seem like you can have too much.
Yeah.
I know it's expensive, but
I still have to have it. And speaking of streetlights, the one at the corner, now that you think of that, the one at the corner of the River Road and Route 1A is out.
Yeah, we have 5 of them, we've been after CMP for months to come down and fix them.
Is that a CMP light or was that the Kenneth Light and Power?
We'll double check.
So unless I hear anything other,
Yeah.
we'll kinda, you know, we'll meet back with Peter, and then we'll come back and say, here, this is what this is, and what it costs, and we can make a determination. And I'll try to ask them the next time we meet, Keith and I will, and Jack, just say, hey, give us a breakdown, you know, what's it gonna cost for? Some of that is hard because, you know, they put together a whole package, and if you take away one,
Yeah.
you might not be able to take away one panic button, but we
no,
can ask.
if you
them for a
take two away,
breakdown.
it ain't gonna change anything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, again, you know, it's the wiring is to get there is what's gonna, is the biggest cost, but we need to get this going so that when they build the walls over the winter, they know that they have to have, you know, conduit or whatever to get all this stuff there, so. And the right hardware for the doors and what have you, so. And then the other thing that we're gonna talk about with Minutemen is whether we do fobs or we do touch.
Yeah.
Right, and this, Keith alluded to this a little bit, he's gonna have an app on his phone that if, you know, the Boy Scouts call and say, hey, we were supposed to have the meeting room and it's locked, so he can sit there and he can unlock it, you know, from his phone, and these will be key locks, you know, do it so that they can't get in here, and if worst case scenario, he can unlock this one and they can come in here, or, you know, we've kinda,
Yeah, we'll work the
Talk about that a
logistics
little
out.
but,
Now,
So
the-
you don't think if the Boy Scouts are gonna use that room, it warrants having a camera in that big room? I mean, just in case a window got broken, or one of our chairs got broke, and they're like, oh, we didn't do it, oh, really?
Yeah, you have a meeting in that big room and some taxpayer gets a little out of control, you got it on camera for the cops.
We'll definitely have it on camera, because we'll have at least 1, maybe 2 cameras in there for our meetings.
for our meetings, but if the Boy Scouts get it, or the Historical Society decides to dance on the tables or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, they're kinda
Oh,
rowdy.
geez.
We
Yeah.
won't have, we won't have that.
We're
idea
taking
for-
lessons already.
But, I mean, that, again, that's up to you guys, I mean, I don't think there's any there, but if we feel that there is, then, you know, we can add it in there. I mean, the original plan, he didn't have, the original plan was, you know, to have 2 360-degree cameras in there, but.
Yeah. 2 fisheyes, right?
2 fisheyes, yeah, sorry, yeah.
So have you used the push button versus the fob, and who has,
I've
and which,
used both.
and which do you think is easier
The
to
fob
use?
is so easy.
Is that what you got in?
Yeah.
No,
No.
well, almost, yeah, you just run this card, it's almost like a fob, yeah, you just run it over and the door opens. And you can get these and provide them to any person you need to. Matter of fact, we got the card, the fire department just ordered, a system that you could do cards, I think.
We have the keypads at the station.
Yeah, I
And
saw
it's a
that.
pain because, recently we had we let go of a guy and he became disgruntled, so we had to change the locks on you have to get a locksmith to come out and take the locks apart and reprogram them.
And the fob you don't.
Yeah,
because-
these are good, we use these at Pratt, and
Yeah.
there are certain areas that you can't get into, you know, and then you swipe your badge and, no, it turns red, you can't get in there, so. And they actually, they work pretty good, so.
I would think that's what we'd be looking at there for doors, is the fob, if that's,
I think they're expensive, and I think that's why I was trying to stay away from them a little bit. But we can find out what the cost is.
but when you compare that to the cost of if one employee, left, to having to change all the locks, in
Yeah, all we
effect,
have to do is just take their fob out of, if they didn't bring back their card, we just dismiss it.
Yeah.
And then they wouldn't have access.
Yeah, whereas the keypad, you know the code.
Right.
Yeah,
You'd
So
have to
you've
have the
got-
code in place,
and
yeah.
you've got to do the whole, go through that whole thing with the keypad.
Yeah, so.
Did this guy mention anything about integrating like the furnace for a monitor or,
We did
Low
talk-
temp monitor or
We did talk
anything?
about that, but I don't remember what he said. He did say something, I don't remember if it was that or something, cause we talked about, you know, the system that would notify, you know, you notify that would notify
Right.
them.
Yeah.
Geez, I'm almost sure that the systems they're putting in have the Wi-Fi capabilities to contact. They were talking to me about it when we, you know, these heat pumps where if they go down to a certain, I'll get an alarm, there'll be an alarm that will be triggered
Yeah.
to tell you you have a failed system, because as I understand, they have to be maintained, well, they have to be working properly all the time, because if you lose heat, then it takes a long time for it to regain again, so. Did he talk about it in the,
so we wouldn't pay a monthly monitoring fee, you're strictly gonna go by a notification?
I'm not sure yet, we'll
Yeah,
have to find out.
I think one way or another, I think we're gonna have to pay some sort of.
Yeah, we're gonna have to have some sort of monitoring fee and a couple of the logistic things that we have.
Where's this firm located?
This firm?
Oh, Christ, they're everywhere, man,
This is a big company.
It says Portland, yeah.
They're out of Portland right now.
they have a couple areas that I know of.
They're all over the United States. Matter of fact, he travels back and forth to Florida every once in a while and, I think I mentioned this before, but so the municipalities that they serve today is City of Portland, City of South Portland, City of Falmouth, City of Biddeford, banks, Sanford Institutional, Evergreen Credit Union, University Credit Union, Biddeford Police Department, Falmouth Police Department, Cumberland County Jail, a bunch of schools, Pratt, Sprague, Beth Iron Works, maybe at Hamlin, Yale, General Dynamics, I mean, they just,
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's a big company. Bunch of hospitals, healthcare stuff, so.
We'll get more answers for you as we
yeah,
get, I do like Phil's to try to get a cost per
Yep.
unit,
yeah.
see what it may be, and how that will affect us.
Thanks for that.
Okay. And Keith, just real quickly, I've already talked to Peter, and as soon as you're done with your part of it, we'll get him going.
Okay, all right, great.
And we'll meet.
I'll follow up on that tomorrow, and get that done.
Moving on to other business. I need approval for both payable and payroll.
So,
Second.
Motion by Rama, seconded by Dan, all those in favor, sign away. Any other business? All we sign, anything pending? Winter's been good to us so far.
Well, I'm still waiting to get some work done on my house. Can
A
we
long
talk
line.
afterwards?
That's a long line, Jack.
It's been good for our road crew.
well, no, cause it only snows on the weekends, they're getting some good overtime, yeah.
Really hasn't been that much.
Just trying to find bodies for the seats, Phil, and every time you wanna plow a road, just let me know.
I plowed
We got-
George Mill Road.
We got a, oh, yeah,
Yeah,
we got more work for you if you want it, we got a truck and everything.
yeah, I saw that on Facebook today, they advertised that they're looking for help.
Yeah, we have a gentleman who's leaving us next week, I think.
Guess that big pay increase didn't help us, huh?
I don't know. You know what's happening now is that some of the communities are giving signing bonuses.
What did I go by the other day? I wanna say Kittery PD, it was like $9,000 signing bonus or something.
Wow.
It's getting crazy.
Hey, how we doing, can I have, those are my,
Yeah.
Jeez. How we doing budget? We, gonna be,
Yeah, I should be ready for our first budget presentation probably the Tuesday after our February meeting. So we'll go Monday for a meeting, Tuesday we'll have a budget meeting. But I'll send out some notices here. I've spoken to all the departments which had asked for additional funding, which I rejected. So, but I'll explain that to you at this point. And I've notified those two department heads, so they understand my dynamic that I'm dealing with, so. Other than that, I don't think there'll be some changes, but, I don't expect it to take us long to get through. I mean, folks have used the same system, we meet together. I think, you know, the biggest issue for us is obviously, salaries and benefits. Right now, I'm looking at 2% for salary adjustments, and the only ones I gave 4% to were those, as you asked me to do, those positions that were still below the standard for somebody who had some experience. So I made those modifications as well, and bumped those by additional 2%, and I'll provide that to you when I give you a budget. So, other than that,
Do you have any idea how many permits they pulled for the seasonal cottages this year? Cause that's really gonna help our,
there's a lot there.
yeah.
Not yet.
If you notice, the plumbing permits, the building permits,
You
just
still got 2 or 3 more years.
pretty
on it.
substantial
Yeah.
up there.
It still helps our evaluation.
Yeah.
I had a call the other day from their gentleman who lives in Massachusetts. He's just wondering why he can't come up for the weekend. And I explained to him the process and how important it is to maintain the separation that we have because of the TIF money. And if we ever vacated that, it'd be a ton of money that'd have to be paid, so. After I told him that, he understood.
I probably got a dozen or so that have come my way. Absolutely livid at the fact that, like, I guess he made pamphlets up and in certain parts of Florida, there's pamphlets, Arundel seasonal cottages, close to pristine beaches, walking distance to shopping, and these people are like, oh, let's go to Maine and look at, and they get there and they're like, where's the beaches, where's the shopping? I'm like, well, I suppose you can take the Eastern Trail, the Biddeford Crossing,
The antique place?
Oh, wow.
and, yeah, they were just out, while they were up here, they were kicking tires, driving around, and they would pull in and
Interesting.
just kind of vent a little bit, and
It's funny how marketing can sort of get you some enthusiasm going on, can it?
Yeah, that's not the kind of marketing, that's good marketing.
I don't know how many he sold, any idea how he sold them?
Hey,
I
it was
heard-
like
I
hotcakes
can
the
tell you
last
how
time I
many
here.
are on
I heard there was 60 some odd sold.
Yeah, they don't last very long.
Really? How many are up, though? And 60 are sold, but there's gotta be 100 up anyway.
Yeah, there's a lot out. When we were in there doing some work for the water company, they had at least 15 they were working on.
Bring it on. Good evaluation, baby, we need it.
Just as long as, I don't need to make this too public, just as long as they're not bringing a lot of kids our way.
Well, they wouldn't go to the school anyway.
Right.
That is, that's just a financial
Yeah,
hardship.
but they won't hit our school system, cause
No.
they're not residents.
Yeah, so they won't, so that's a benefit to us, that's for sure.
Motion to adjourn at 8:00.
Thank you, Dan. Seconded by
Yep.
Velma. All those in favor?